in, he he tries to ease everybody in. He hates being called out. He turns into a giant, you know, crybaby. He, so what he'll, it's pretty much the same tactics all the time. He'll call you a liar. He'll try to turn everybody against you. There is not a drop in him of a good person. Not a little bit of him. He is all like he is Satan's mentor. Come to find out, he is all, like there's nothing but destruction, and he just he individually tries to pick people off so that it's so well done that there's really nothing you can do about it. Like he's had my children taken from me and had everybody convinced that he's got sole custody. And there's really been nothing I can do about it. We're not even divorced. I left him because of everything you've said. And for some reason, he's had through the lawyers in the early beginning of our divorce, like requested that I tell him why we were getting divorced. Like, are you kidding me? So yeah, this is a pattern for him. All of this, every bit of it. Thief, liar, all of it. Rape culture, yeah. I just wanted to validate everything you're saying. Every single bit of it. Don't second guess yourself. Your intuition's all the way right.
Well, thank you. And I believe you.
You know what? If you have any other questions or anything else, don't hesitate, because I mean, whatever you think, it is what it is. And if you have to ask yourself a question, uh, like I always say, the sign is the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. That's all I really wanted to say.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you joining,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you speaking up.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't serve anybody to stay silent.
Lune, I just want to say thank you for speaking out, and I believe you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you should not be going through the shit you're going through. And you coming up and speaking up does mean a lot. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Listen. Here's my thing about abuse. I know that he's probably trolling me all the time. I seriously don't believe it serves anybody um, to keep my mouth shut, and I'm not going to. I don't. I know he has his way of suppressing me, and I never will, because nobody else can know what to do if the people who haven't dealt with the intricacies of it don't speak up. So that's for me personally, because like as long as I've been married to him, it was hard to get out. Even though I'm not, I talked to my little girl on FaceTime yesterday, and she was telling me certain ways, something that he did. I said, baby, that's not funny. That you should not be treated that way. I know it seems like haha funny, but that is not how you should be treated. And I said, he treated me that way as well. She said, well, if it's abuse and it's not okay, how come you didn't know it wasn't okay and you're a grown up? I said, that's a great question, because it all starts with haha, it's so funny, but over time, people like this get more aggressive. They suddenly act like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that to me too, when it was all funny in the beginning, haha in the beginning, and now you're really switching up. By the end of our marriage, he was telling me, like, I just don't understand your sense of humor, when that's literally the reason we started dating. Like, our sense of humor was just in sync. So that's what I was trying to explain to her. Like, You know, they just switch up on you. That's how they start the game. That's how they play the game.
Yeah.
So if people like me don't explain, because he's so insecure inside. Like he could not stand that I am a confident person. Like I spent all this time in the military before I was even in a relationship. He couldn't stand the confidence, the way I carried myself, just everything about me. Just he thought he was the smartest person in the room, and then I come along, and he just had to push like all the life out of my eyes. So yeah, I'm not going to let people like him continue to perpetuate the cycles of abuse when I can call it out, when I can point it out, and when I can see it. Because it just takes somebody saying it's not okay for people to start saying, you know what, I remember. I remember that girl that one time saying it's not okay. Because y'all, I remember hearing it on freaking Ricky Lake as a like kid on Jenny Jump. You know what? All that stuff that's stuck in my head, I wanted to get stuck in somebody else's head, even if it's this one time.
If you're comfortable
Hmm.
answering this question, would you like to talk about what you experienced,
About what? I'm sorry.
and how he tried to discredit you?
Oh yeah. So I left him December 22 because of all of everything, right? We were losing the place we were living, which was just an Airbnb that he never settled on. Like we moved to Florida in 2020. He never figured out a place to live or what we were going to do. He was keeping secrets from me. I never knew what was going on. Come to find out, by December, we were getting things shut off because we were not supposed to be subletting for as long as we had. Hang on. My oldest daughter went up to the front to get a package for me where we were not supposed to be getting mail even, but we'd been there for around 2 years, over 2 years at this point. And so they were basically kicking us out, and the owners who lived overseas were selling. Like they were selling right out there from under us. It was on the market as we lived there. I'm like, what the hell? So um, he kept like pretending to go to rehab when there was some other woman in another part of the area we were in that he was going to stay with. And I guess as this was all just happening around me, he expected me to once again deal with the crisis. So I took that opportunity to say, okay, I'm not I'm not dealing with this anymore. Now the VA, I went to the VA for help because I had to be technically homeless, which it means not paying anybody rent. And I took the girls to a hotel. And he's telling everybody that I was saying I'm gonna go and be homeless, which are I'm a Leo. I've never said words like that. So my mom helped us get stuff in storage and just go to a hotel. Unfortunately, way too close to where we've been living because he was just following us the whole time. So anyway, the VA started, eventually got us help, and I was separated from him for 5 months. And when they finally got us into an apartment, it had been 5 days before he sent the police several counties over to have me arrested for assaulting him, which of course never happened. But he said I assaulted him that December. Paperwork filed in February. And this was, what was this? It was not February. It was the spring no, it was the summer, spring. I don't know. Had me arrested on this whole nonsense just to have my children taken away from me. No charges, no nothing. The stuff was even later dropped by the state because it was clearly ridiculous. just so he could take the girls. Haven't seen him since. But prior to all of that, we dated off and on when I moved to the Virginia area and Washington, D.C. area. And, you know, it was just casual dating in my early 30s. And then, you know, it was just dating, just kind of getting to know somebody. I was in a new area, so he had convinced me that he and his fiance had called off the engagement. They had a son that he had never met. Well, she was still pregnant. He'd never met this son of his. And I was there when he finally got to visit this child, who was now 4 turning 5, but had to go through the courts, had to have like a unification situation. And eventually the court said, no, I don't think you should be in the kid's life anymore. But by then, he was already, we were already married and had my middle baby, who was like itty bitty just born at the time. But he had already trapped me, you see. When I came back from Afghanistan, he didn't have a place to live. My father had just passed away, and my daughter was staying with a friend of mine in Virginia. And so he was like, oh, well, you know what? Why don't I help you out by taking her to Kansas City for you? One less thing to worry about. And so my brother and I had to make funeral arrangements and everything. So I returned home with a lot of trauma. Another thing that they like to, you know, sink their claws into. So kind of at that time, I guess he was like, oh, let me help you with all this other stuff while you're buying a car and you had a Jeep built and all that sort of thing. So he just kind of, I guess, made himself at home. And then, let's see, shortly after I found out I was pregnant, then boom, he started being just insane. He started reading all of my email. This was 2015. He started reading all of my emails that go back all the way to the year 2000, making accusations that I was like hooking up with all these guys and making up all these stories about all of this. Listen, I was raised in the church. My father was a minister, not even at that church. My dad had his own ministry separate from that. Like, I went to the synagogue on Friday, Saturday, and then church on Sunday as a teenager. I made that choice because my dad decided to be Messianic Jew for a while. And then my rebellious phase was to go to church on Sunday. Okay, so to slut shame me, absolutely the wrong person. Like, you got the wrong one. But now he's twisted this story to make it seem like I've done all of these things that are just whatever. Come to find out, months later, when I'm sitting in the courtroom with him, they ask him about his estranged wife. And I'm like, what? Plot twist, not even the ex-fiance. It was somebody he met while I was in Afghanistan. Oh, y'all. So all the reason he was being so hateful to me is because he needed to build this story so that he could just tear me down, because he knew there was going to be so much that was going to come out about him in the months to come and the years to come. And also just because he's a bad person, doesn't know how to treat people. We got an au pair from South Africa because he said that was always his dream if he ever had a wife and kids. No, his dream was to have somebody he could have move in that, you know, he could sleep with. She wasn't on that time. So he became even nastier, quit his job like the week after she got there, absolutely did nothing, was underemployed the entire time. The entire time. Never helped me with the children at all. If I was ever gone for work, he had her working around the clock as if his job was the only one that mattered. My oldest daughter, he abused the crap out of her physically and also had her working as a slave, even though she was in high school, drama club, and had basically a managerial role at every job she's ever worked. And would scream at her if the dishes weren't, spotless, even though he sat around and remained underemployed because he doesn't want to pay child support for that one son that he never sees. So he constantly works under the table. Uh, let's see, and what's the other? What was I going to say? I don't remember the rest. His oldest son, he really was only coach to him. No other real parenting involved. And if his son didn't want to be involved with basketball, there was really no conversation to be had. Always had somebody living with us, even when I told him I wasn't comfortable with that because it was always men. Always. I said I wasn't comfortable with it. He never cared. And he'd say the things, and this goes back to the rape culture. If I would have told you, you would have said no. No, excuse me. If I would have told you the truth, you would have said no. You mean if I had consent? Stuff doesn't matter to him. So, yeah, it's just a lot of him bulldozing his way through the house, stomping around, just like hunched shoulders all the time. Yeah, just a lot of stuff like that. A lot of tension, a lot of me trying to figure out how to get away from him. Yeah, it was really a shock to me. Like, who is this person? Who, like, who is this person? This was not the person I signed up for. And I had to mourn at some point that the person that I thought I was in a relationship with did not exist. It took me a long time to realize that person, like, was not a person, and that this guy was the guy. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, thank you for sharing. I do appreciate it, and I also think it's important to give women space, women and femmes space to speak about their experiences. I also see that my comments are getting a little bit crazy, so if we could all just show some love and support in the comments, thank you. That would be
Also, I just want to say, as someone who's currently serving in the military, thank you so much for sharing your story. A lot of people characterize everybody in the military as the man who the wife cheats on, um, but no one talks about all the women who the men are not serving. It happens a lot more with the women serving.
Yeah,
So thank you for telling your story.
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. That is a good point. Yeah.
I'm going to drop, but I wanted to say thank you for sharing everything. I think it's helpful for people, especially to make a decision to, you know, keep following him or not. It's very disheartening, but it's necessary for us to hear that. And I'm so sorry this
I
has
appreciate it.
happened.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
I believe you, and thank you again for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's up to everybody, what they want to do, but the truth is the truth.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you also, Brussels, for holding this live. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
I do want to, if I could, just wanted to come up here really quick. Just one sec. just to say in the comments, please, I'll jump back down into the comments, but please, let's not use anyone else's name. Right now, this is a discussion about Mr. Jones, not about anyone else, not anybody he's connected to, not about anybody else outside of that. So let's just not start naming names in the comments because they're not a part of this. This is about Jones and their experience with Jones and Jones alone. So if you could please keep that in the comments, please avoid from saying names, even if it's in good, even if it's in good intentions. I will mute you because we are not using anyone else's names in the conversation. This is about Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Ernesto. So again, I'm hosting this live because I believe in giving people the power to make informed decisions about who they support. I am not telling anyone to block this man, to unfollow this man, to go and condemn this man. I am simply informing people about the behaviors that I've witnessed myself and my opinions on them so that you can decide on how you want to support this creator, or if you want to support this creator. And I'm also holding this live because I want to express solidarity to those people that have messaged me that are too afraid to speak out, but have truth to tell about their experiences. I think one of the most damning things that survivors of abuse can ever experience in the loneliest and most torturous times is the silence that comes afterward. And the fear and the isolation that you experience. And these are things that have been weaponized, using isolation, using intimidation, weaponizing his platform. I'm sure you've even seen in the comments people coming in here to be nasty, to disbelieve, to talk shit, when in reality, it's just as easy to let it be. Like you're supporting the algorithm. If you don't support this live, scroll on. It's just giving you an informed choice, nothing more. My experience with Jones, he derailed a live where I was trying to address being sexually harassed by another creator. When I tried to address him later, he came in on a very small alt account, gaslit me, spoke down to me. He told me that I said I didn't care, which was simply not true. And it was just an entirely triggering situation to experience. Like, he triggers me to the point where I cry when I have to interact with that man. I'm a survivor of abuse and domestic violence, and I will say that he is triggering to me. That's my opinion. I personally believe that he uses tactics of abuse. The way that he had people unfollow me after that incident, had people unfollow people surrounding me after that incident, isolated others, it's all abuse tactics. And for him to come into my live yesterday that I hosted addressing that situation and say her story is fake and she's a fraud chasing clout over a year later. This is clown shit. Chasing clout on your way out the door is lame. All of those things are the embodiment of rape culture and the reasons why women don't speak out about the abuse that they experience. So this man is not an advocate. That is not advocacy. That is participating in rape culture and misogyny. For him to go and to host a live about my life and try to weaponize other women against me is just so vile. To try and force another woman to support you in a moment where you were honestly in the wrong, dude. Like, I can't say that I was perfect in that initial situation. If it happened again, there are things that I would have done differently. And to the people that, like, my inability to take different actions at that time hurt, I have spoken to them. But I haven't seen the same energy come from him. I've seen this energy that is pictured on screen, calling me a fake, a fraud, a liar. So seeing the women that he's silenced by using their fear, I think that's devastating, but it also exemplifies how those dynamics harm women. And if you are truly an advocate and you believe victims first, then you recognize that. You recognize that someone who positions themselves as an ally to women, yet engages in behaviors that silence and harm them, is dangerous. You recognize that hypocrisy in that is exploitation. It's weaponizing trust and creating a dangerous environment, honestly, where survivors will turn to him for support. They will use his community, and they will either be re-traumatized, manipulated, or fear speaking out because they need that community and they need that support, and they do not want to be isolated. And I think that if TikTok does shut down, if it doesn't shut down, if this app is here next week, I don't really think it matters. I think that whether or not you follow a creator onto the next platform, whether or not you engage with them, whether or not you gift them, should always be an informed decision. And I just want to give people that information.
Oh, he claims to be highly educated. Okay, so here's the funny thing. Um, I realized, like, at the end of my career in Intel, like as a civilian, they never checked on all the degrees that people said they had. I was like, man, I should have just said I had whatever degree so I could have just gotten, you know, those other jobs. But then I started doing other stuff anyway, like interior design, all those sorts of things. And then he used to say how he started going to school to be a pharmacist. He hated it, so he, eventually stopped. He said that was something his parents wanted him to do. And then he finished and got a business administration degree online. Now, I would never repeat where he said he got that degree from because I really want him to say it, to remember if he said where he got that degree from. Because it just occurred to me not too terribly long ago that he didn't get that degree. And the reason I say that is because the year, like toward the end where we were splitting up, let me back up for a second. When he used to talk about having this degree or getting the, working toward the degree in pharmaceuticals, I would tease him all the time because I had to take some classes too. And in my biology class, as a full grown adult, I thought it was silly that I had to write a report in biology about giraffes. So I was poking fun at him about stuff that happened in my own biology class up the street in like 2017. And I would say, I would say something about his pill class or counting medicine class or his giraffe reports or stuff, stupid stuff like that. And so all of a sudden in 2022, he's talking about his science degree, his master's degree in the sciences, and I'm just like, my head is spinning. I'm like, you're starting to tell me about this second degree you had. I'm like, now he's expecting me now to believe in this. First of all, I'm questioning his first degree. Now he's got this imaginary second one. I'm like, Lord have mercy. He's already lying to people about where he was born. And now it's his degree. Oh, Lord have mercy. I honestly do not. I don't think he actually graduated from high school, to tell the truth. And no, he's not in Mensa. No. You have to upkeep that membership. The fact that he was ever in it, highly doubtful. Oh, Lord have mercy. No. No, 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 no. He's a theologist. No. No. Is that what that? Hold on. He said, hold on. I'm sorry. No. Okay, he's not a theologist. That's me
Uh,
and my family.
Lune, I do have a list here of what I've gathered that the claims he's had in terms
Okay.
of his education, and I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind like giving a yes or a no.
Okay.
Degree in psychology,
No.
bachelor's in sociology,
No.
bachelor's in biology,
No.
bachelor's in business,
No.
master's in biology,
No.
master's in sociology,
No.
master's in business,
No.
doctorate in pharmacy,
No.
doctorate in theology,
No.
master's or PhD in sociology or gender and women's studies,
Wow. No.
any kind of political science PhD or master's.
No.
Okay, that's the list that I had compiled. Thank you.
Wow. See, that's wild. Jesus. Man. I tell you, man. Let me tell you something. He would be like so enraged when I would bring up, like, I grew up in that world of, theology because, like, my father's ministry started in college, like before I was born. He traveled with this ministry, and my dad was straight up doctrine, but like he like Ricky didn't get it. He didn't even know my dad. My dad passed away before he was ever born. I mean, born before we were ever married. Like, he never even met him. Never. And the only time he thought he was quoting my dad, he was quoting my dad's best friend from recordings he heard, and it was really him quoting the Temptations. Oh my God. And then when my daughter would write like the scriptures on our whiteboard upstairs, he didn't even understand like what he was like. Guys, all he does is like stay up all night because he can't live with himself to sleep, and just reads and reads and reads all night. That doesn't equate to anything. Oh my God. That is so offensive. Offensive because it was my dad's life's work that he passed on to so many people over many, many years diligently that have then gone on to teach other people and other people and other people, and then been invited to Nigeria and Kenya and Togo and Benin. You know what I mean? Like, this was not a game. Man. What else? No. Yeah. I mean, he tries to make himself an expert in everything. That's just part of the way he gaslights everyone and make himself think he's an expert. I remember he used to tell us, we throw away more food than any other family in America, and that's a fact. I said, that's not a fact, Ricky. He was like, yeah, it is. It's a fact. I said, there's literally news reports all the time that say that this is an issue with America in general. No, it's not. Look at all this. Look at all this. He just keeps that argument going on and on.
Okay. I didn't want to host this live for super long. I really appreciate everything everyone has shared. If anyone has any other questions or anything they want to share in the comments, I'll address it. But I don't want this to be able to be twisted, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that it's so easy for people to say it's just slander. Oh, they're just talking shit. They're just doing this. But there's a pattern of behavior and there are tactics of abuse that have been used. What you do with that information is up to you.